doing business in Africa. You can't afford to be without Africa Investor.
Your Excellencies, esteemed leaders, distinguished guests and friends. Let me first thank Dr. Adnan for really inspiring comments and a vision for transformation for Africa that you laid out. We resonate with that vision and we will be partners with you in that vision. But let me also take this moment to recognize two very special people and my brothers. We started discussing the idea for this forum almost a year ago. I will not say they harassed me at some point in the year, but Kande Yukela and Hubert Danso, they are the motive force in all this and the inspiration for this series of events that we have. Thank you so much for your vision and your energy and your commitment. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, welcome to COP28, COP of action, and a COP for the Global South, where we don't only wish to talk about change, we want to catalyze and ignite it. If you look at the achievements, a historic agreement on loss and damage with over $700 million in pledges already, $12.7 billion in pledges to the Green Climate Fund, resounding commitments by over 100 countries on tripling renewables and doubling energy efficiency. A new vision on climate finance, the UAE declaration on a new global climate finance framework that brings major world leaders together and puts forward core principles to make finance more accessible, more affordable, and sustainable. A US $30 billion fund announced by the UAE, Altera, the world's largest private investment vehicle for climate action that aims to mobilize $250 billion by 2030 and focus on transforming emerging and developing markets where traditional investment has been lacking so far. You can already see you are getting ready for this engagement. And the launch of the Africa Green Industrialization Initiative by the President of Kenya, William Ruto, that aims to hyperscale green businesses and industries in Africa and break the chains of raw material export dependency that have stalled Africa's development for so long. The Africa Green Industrialization builds on the success of the Africa Green Investment Initiative launched earlier this year by the UAE at the Africa Climate Summit that has already allocated more than half of its $4.5 billion commitment for power projects across 8 countries that will add approximately 1.8 gigawatts of clean power capacity to the African grid. The convergence of these initiatives signals a paradigm shift for Africa's energy landscape, ushering in an era of prosperity driven by green industrialization. This is the point of inflection that we have reached. Excellencies, leaders, distinguished guests. The Nairobi Declaration at the Africa Climate Summit highlighted that the energy transition is an opportunity for shared prosperity. Africa has the potential to be the global trailblazer for the energy transition and for green industrialization. In fact, green industrialization is a battle cry for delivering Africa's socio-economic transformation by bringing together environmental stewardship and economic progress. It offers a pathway for sustainable and inclusive growth while powering the development of new industries, creating economic diversification and jobs. The African continent has the world's greatest green resources, including renewable power potential, but also critical materials needed to power not just homes, but Africa's green industrialization. Some projects moving forward are already coupled with green steel, sustainable mining, and processing, and this needs to be scaled up. To achieve green industrialization, we must build innovative and transformative policies to pursue low carbon growth and unlock sources of capital. Firstly, we must tackle policies and systemic level changes. Many governments across Africa are working diligently towards green industrialization, building long-term energy transition programs, and the political groundwork required to drive the necessary reforms. We call upon international partners to step up and to lend a hand. Secondly, we must unlock the private sector at the scale and speed required by deploying appropriate financial instruments, de-risking instruments, and blended finance solutions. We must restore the financial sustainability of local utilities and invest in modernization of the energy infrastructure. And let me underline the importance of the investment in infrastructure, which will enable so much of this to happen. Lastly, we must reform the global financial architecture to include access to more sustainable finance. Pension and sovereign wealth funds in emerging markets are already providing long-term capital for investment, but more is needed. Financial regulators and credit rating agencies must work with financial institutions to support a more investor-friendly regulatory framework, and this will enable transformational projects to be launched and to attract private investment. Scaling up private capital will also ensure that countries do not confront the climate battle with one hand tied behind their backs, encumbered by debt. Making adequate levels of finance available to all by releasing the full force of the private sector, will reignite collective global green industrialization, support and accelerate the drive to net zero, and create jobs and prosperity. And we all know that a young and growing population in Africa, one of the critical aspects that we need to address, is employment today. This is the existential battle of our generation, and the challenge is too big and too important for us to fail. The Africa Investment Earthshot Leadership Summit clearly demonstrates that this is possible. I call on partners in this room to unite, to act, and to deliver a transformative cycle of change that will achieve Africa's green industrialization in the near future. Thank you very much.
Doing business in Africa, you can't afford to be without Africa Investor.